Another question a new user might ask is, why is mirror/array a thing? Well, we attempted multiple ways of trying to go for array. Another one was trying to create an array gizmo. The array gizmo was something that didn't quite work out. However, I don't absolutely consider it a failure. I consider it a placeholder for something better yet to come. To show this in action, we'll just Shift deduplicate this cube and just cut this in to just create a difference using our options. Hopefully you guys are able to follow along since I'm trying to explain everything about hard ops in this video. If you guys are still behind, that would be the biggest tragedy. So if we press Q, we see that that option doesn't actually show up. And that's because this shape is basically has the status of a bool shape. And so sometimes that actually works against you, like here, where I'm trying to show this particular example. And for that reason, we actually have an option under Mesh Tools called Hops Reset, which basically will reset any sort of properties we put on the mesh. However, in this case, we actually turned it back into a solid. We do want to keep it as a wire, but it does allow us to reset the Q menu and the way that it behaves with you, the user. This segment isn't about that, but it is a interesting fact about how I manage hard ops. But if we control click array gizmo, we see that it brings up this array gizmo that still can be a little bit strange. I see at the top that it's flashing, so more than likely there's a few more bug reports I'll need to file with it. But one of the big things I had an issue with was the transparent plus and minus buttons that were somewhat hidden. I felt that when users would be using this, if they were looking at it in the right shade, they just would never see these buttons. I mean, where's these buttons now? We'll move it a little bit, maybe change the angle and see if we can completely hide it just like that. Just like that, these buttons are gone. And this is the main issue that I actually have with this particular array. In addition to the scale just being a little bit more free than I would like it to be. But it also does have the added benefit of during movement, if you press 1, it will just snap it to 1 on this, which isn't good for things like bool shapes. But if we were dicing and trying to make a continuous strip, then this would be essential. I'm very big on being able to slap things exactly to 1 on array in order to have things be continuous, but also being able to have things be at whatever distance is needed. Also with this, there isn't the ability to say control click to add another level of array to this. So that's where basically this particular array story ends. But it is an interesting story about how we tried to make an active tool version that didn't quite work out, but I do want to revisit this. So, you know, maybe someday the array v2 that we have will somehow connect to it in both behavior and functionality to actually bridge all of those gaps. I mean, with all these things, the longer they stay around, the more that they actually give me ideas on what they could be. I mean, for one, that flashing in the top of the corner is going to have to go. I don't know what causes that, but for a moment it wasn't happening. Another thing is that we could have some sort of system here, like maybe a rotating wheel that will allow you to switch this to a radial array or a twist 360 or something like that. But, you know, just like that, ideas come to me. But there's always a future for these things, and I just want to show why this array gizmo is there. I felt that, you know, AR put a lot of work into it. It still has its purpose and still is pretty good despite it having a few shortcomings, but that's where we definitely have a tool to fill that need. For example, if I want to add another array, I would just press A to add another array. If I wanted to change my axis, I would just press X and just roll the wheel and add another array, and we could just press A and add another array, press X to change the axis, roll the wheel, and we've instantly turned this into a gray.